Welcome, everyone. I thought it would be a wonderful idea to bring in Celia Fenn and Leslie Zehr and myself to have a little roundtable about what the Lion's Gate actually is and really share about our own experiences of it and how we can best serve humanity through our gifts and how we work in the world. And I thought it would be nice to get together to give this information out. So here we are. And I'm excited for those of you who are watching and who are going to be watching later. I just, wanted you to have a sense of what this is about. And of course, everybody has their own experience of what the Lion's Gate is for them personally. But there are some, I would say, pertinent meaning to what it actually is and how we can benefit from it. So let's start. Maybe I should start how it came to me. It came to me through Celia because back in, I think it was 2004,
Yeah.
I knew nothing about it, I'd never heard of it. And I was on your newsletter. We had never met yet. I was on your newsletter and I was reading this thing about the Lion's Gate and this light went off and I was like, well, this is my birthday. What is going on? How come I've never heard about this? Because it certainly wasn't in any of my
Yeah.
upbringing. And so I thought, okay. So I started searching around. I had not found anything for like a couple of years. I had only received your newsletter. And the only other thing that would come up was Lionsgate Films, which I knew, well, we don't know if it has anything to do with this. For all we know, it could be something related somewhere. But I thought, oh, this is interesting. And I thought, okay, I'm going to keep searching around. And I remember I was working at a wellness center and I was looking around locally for someone maybe having an event because I know you were doing things online with it, Celia. And then I thought, all right, well, I'm going to keep searching. And I couldn't find anything. So at the time, my boss said, well, why don't you have an event? And I said, me? I don't know what to do. She's like, of course you do. I thought, okay, I'll think about that one. So I started putting some ideas together. Long story short, I had an event. It was very well attended, very successful. It was very exciting. And I think that was in 2006 because that was a triple eight Stargate that year.
Uh-huh.
The two and the six come into an eight. So then I remember reaching out to you, Celia, and I figured it out. I said, I don't think anyone else has ever talked about this because I couldn't find anything. And so I reached out to you in an email and I said, are you the first person to come out with information about the Lionsgate? And you had said something like, I didn't think anybody noticed that. I said, no, I've noticed it because I kept trying to find information and it was only your information. And it wasn't even so much. One thing, this is what I realized about it for me personally. As I was reading about it all kind of immediately made sense to me and I felt it, but that was it. It was a feeling that
Uh,
came through me. And that's what I wanted to say, that I know there's people that are claiming it's not real, it has nothing to do with astrology, whatever. I'm not even going to get into all that because I don't follow any of that. And everybody's entitled to their opinion. But what I remember about it is that it wasn't so much what I was reading and taking in up here, it was what I felt in my heart.
yeah. It is highly energetic, the Lionsgate. And the way I came to it was because I channeled, and Archangel Michael said to me, you need to start doing this Lionsgate. So I duly started doing the Lionsgate, not really knowing myself what is the Lionsgate. And of course, it became clearer over the years because it wasn't just a one-off thing. It was every year, and every year it was more intense and more things were happening. So, as I have come to understand by working with Archangel Michael and the Star Lions, they're a very important part of this because they are the engineers of time. And what the Lion's Gate is a time portal where we begin a new cycle or a new spiral of time. So what we're going through now is the ending of one cycle, going into the new cycle. Now, I just want to explain to you um, the background to this, because back when time began, like fairy story, back when time began, it began in ancient Egypt on the Giza Plateau. And this was where the star lions, who were the creators of time, anchored the first time spiral. And so, where the Sphinx is now, there were actually two lions. They weren't um, beasts with human heads, they were actually lions pointing towards constellation of Leo. And that was the moment when we transited as humanity and the planet, we transit through the pores of the lion. And this is reflected in the astrological transit, because if you look at what goes on round about now, you will see star Regulus, I think it is, between the paws of the lion, also known as the lion heart star.
Right.
So this was the first spiral of time, and in ancient Egyptian history, it's called the Zep Tepi, which means the first time. And lots of people talk about Zep Tepi. They don't know what it is or what it means. They think, oh, it was a previous kingdom or something. But it actually means the first time, the first spiral, when time began on Earth. And so these spirals represent what Archangel Michael calls the sacred year, with the four time gates, 8, 11, 11, 2, 2, and 5, 5, and then the two equinoxes and the two solstices, which make the 8-pointed star of the sacred year. And so as I work with Archangel Michael, we mark each one of these 8 points. And of course, the Lion's Gate, the 8-8, is the most powerful and important one, because it's ending one spiral, beginning another one. So that basically, in a nutshell, is what the importance of the Lion's Gate is.
I really appreciate you explaining that, because there's so much going on out there about it now, which I think is a great thing, because when I first started, there was no one other than you. And then a couple of years, I noticed, some other people would come out with something. Of course, a lot of them were using your information, which was fine. I actually had a woman contact me in New York. I think she was in Brooklyn. Well, I had seen her post, and she had something in one of her newsletters that I was on. And I said, "Oh, I didn't know you knew about the Lionsgate." She said, "Well, actually, I got it from your email. I'm sorry I didn't put your name." I said, "Don't give me the credit. Give Celia Fenn the credit and Archangel Michael, because they're the ones who gave it to me." But it was wonderful, because what I saw happening, and I see it now even more so, it's bringing people together to shift the consciousness. And I
Yeah.
think that's the beauty of it. And yeah, there are some people, and I admit this, I did this myself at the very beginning because I didn't know any better. I was focused on the abundance, the money, the financial, because of the 8. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because we all want to have financial abundance and be cared for. But I realize it's so much more than that. That's only a small piece of it.
But also, of course, the abundance is part of it, because in
Yeah.
ancient Egypt, this was the time when the Nile would flood and come down and bring all this beautiful, rich silt for the land, and the land would, the new crops could be planted, and it was a time of abundance and hope for the future. And I think that's what it is now.
Yeah.
We are looking forward to a better future and an abundance. It might not look like it, because we're at the end of a cycle and we're going into a new one. But these cycles and spirals are not just annual spirals. You get these huge spirals, like 26,000 year spirals, which is the precession of the equinoxes. And so we're moving now from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, which is also a new spiral of time that will bring peace and abundance to us. So we can look at the abundance, but not making it the entire focal point of the 8-8.
Yeah, no, I agree. I believe there is so much more. And the fact that it's in Leo, which is ruled by the heart, and you, like you were saying, Regulus is the heart of Leo, because that was the other thing I felt, that, in some way, Regulus plays a big part in it too. It may not be, that's, see, the thing that I'm hearing from people is that it has nothing to do with Sirius because Sirius is in Cancer. But that's not true because isn't there the rising of Sirius? It may not
Yeah,
be
Yeah,
where,
the heliacal rising, and that's
yeah. So
and
it's
that's
rising
the
this
ancient. And the eight is about empowerment. Eight was about it was a portal to empowerment, and that can be many things. And I think when we often think about money, and if we are relating abundance to money, well, that can be power over as well. And empowerment is really something that comes through the person. And in Egypt, this was the time of the flood. It's New Year's. In the Pharaonic calendar, this period of time is the New Year's. So that's how it was celebrated, was this is the beginning of a cycle. It's beginning of a yearly cycle. It's maybe other cycles, but we have, and it was also the birth of Sekhmet. So this was a,
yes,
which takes us back to the lion. And I know that when we had this conversation, I was trying to remember, but we celebrated the 8/8 a long time ago. I don't know when I started calling it the Lion's Gate because in my information about ancient Egypt, there's the name the Lion's Gate doesn't necessarily appear, but it's obviously during the time of Leo. And as Celia said, Leo was very important because that was the beginning of that cycle, which is what's interesting now, because now are opposed to that. So if we're moving into Aquarius, that's the opposite sign to Leo.
right,
And Leo was very, so the belief is that the Sphinx were carved in that period of when Leo was rising, during that period of precession, when it was the age of Leo. And now we are opposite that, which is very significant. So, but we do have those celebrations that have been celebrated for thousands of years of the new year. And as Celia said, it was the time of the flooding. That was what was going to determine whether there were going to be crops the next year. If
right.
the if there wasn't flooding, we had a problem in that it wasn't, and it also broke that cycle because just before the flood, you have the very hot summer, and then suddenly you have this water. Obviously, we don't have that now because they built a dam, but before we had that very hot summer, and then the flood waters would come, and that was the beginning. Then it was after that was the planting season, and it was an important time, but it was also a difficult time in that a lot could happen. There could be too much water, not enough water. There could be plagues and things like that that would come from this period of time, which is why Sekhmet also became the healer and became the one that was kind of, um, she was the goddess of this time because we needed her. We needed her healing. We needed her fire and all that kind of thing. So I think other people may know it as something other than the Lion's Gate, but I think that's a beautiful way to put it. So I think for those of us who maybe celebrated it in a different way,
Yeah.
we have adopted that because it is a beautiful, I think it's a beautiful way to explain that period of time as opposed to maybe looking all the dots. And the rising of Sirius, the heliacal rising of Sirius was very much related to the flood. They believed that this brought the flood. Whether it does or doesn't, I don't know. I mean, there may be a relationship that we don't really understand, and we're probably not going to now that we have a dam, um, but it was very much honored in that way. And of course, Sirius was related to Isis. So that was the return of the goddess when we saw her rising before dawn.
And we're going through that now with the return of the feminine, and they're still trying to shut us down and put us in our place. So they say, well, our
I'd
rightful place.
add something to that this particular Lionsgate. is a moment for what is being called the expansion of the feminine flame, because we have reached a point where we are emerging into our new earth body. And within that body is a balance of masculine and feminine. So we're filling out the feminine side with the flame and the power that comes from Sekhmet, or the lioness. So this is for everybody, not just for women, but for men and women who are at this point in their evolution, that this feminine flame can come through. And I have felt this on the left-hand side of my body, like it's burning and rewiring and new pathways coming in. So it's very exciting what we're going through at this Lion's Gate.
Yeah, well, we also are in the year of the snake, the wood snake, and we're in a 9-year in numerology. And like you said, we're this opposite of Aquarius. And wouldn't you know, I
Yeah.
have my sun in Leo, my rising Aquarius. I'm a wood snake, and I was born in a my numerology is a 9. So I'm like, wow, can I get any more intense?
It is a bit
Don't
intense.
ask that question.
Yeah.
You may get an answer. So
That is roaring through me. I mean, I really feel her presence very strongly this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's very much
I've
alive.
also felt that it's almost as though something is saying, stand up and be strong. And Archangel Michael says we should walk the path of the lion, which is courage, strength, and resilience. I'm going, okay, courage, because so many things have happened to me that I've had to actually stand up and roar, which is not in my nature. I'm not a Leo, I'm a placid horse. So having to activate the Leo has been quite difficult for me.
Wow. So the name,
come to Egypt. You will find
I've
you
been
will
to
find
Egypt
many
several
Sekhmet
times.
women. Yeah, they know. They didn't lose that, which is fascinating. Yeah.
so the name, the Lion's Gate, did that come from Archangel Michael?
I can't remember. This was like 20,
Yeah, it was
2000.
a long time ago.
But I remember him saying to me that this was important, and I had to. I do remember it being the Lion's Gate. It wasn't anything else. The portal came later because everyone was talking about portals. But I
Right.
remember the Lion's Gate, and I was thinking, what is the Lion's Gate? And I'd go and read up some stuff. And I remember seeing pictures of in Greece, I think it was. There are gates with lions, 2 lions, very similar to
Yeah.
teaching. But that came from the Egyptians. It was
Yeah.
transported into Greece, the idea of the Lion's Gate. So I sort of had to research and look around the same as you did. And then over the years, I have had more information come through until this year. I really understand fully now, linking back to the first time, the Giza Plateau. And, interesting for me also, the 3 pyramids that were built later behind the Sphinx, where the 2 lions were, are linking up into the constellation of Orion,
Right.
because the 3, and also connecting, as Leslie mentioned, to Isis, which is Sirius. So it's a reference to the importance of Isis and Osiris from Orion in the evolution of the Earth, because of course Sirius was involved, actually so was Orion in different ways. So the what would you call it, the architecture of the Giza Plateau is a reflection, as we all know, of what goes on the earth and the energies of the earth and evolution of the earth, just in wonderful ways that bring the Lion's Gate to life for me.
Yeah. I think it's also a really powerful time to engage in things that bring you joy, because I think because it's the heart, and I think it was you who said this, Celia, about that Leo is like the magical child of the zodiac. And
Yeah, the golden child.
yeah, that it really,
Because as we emerge, this is what I'm working with at the moment, as we emerge as the new earth human, it is the heart that is central, because the old human, the Homo sapiens, worked with the mind and the
yeah,
lower chakras. And the new earth human, what I call a Christ consciousness human, comes from the heart and the soul. So it's a shift that happens for us. And at this moment, I'm very aware of not being dominated by the mind and the lower chakras, but coming from the heart. And that includes playfulness and
Yeah.
creativity and sensitivity and empathy. And, also courage. Because when your heart says to you, this is wrong, do you have the courage to stand up and say, no, this is wrong for me? A lot of us are going through that and saying, well, I don't like what's happening, but I'm not going to say anything, which is me. And then I've been forced into saying, no, I'm going to stand up now and I'm going to say, this is not right. And I think this is part of the emergence of the new being who's not just going to be manipulated and go along with whatever story is current, but will feel in their body and in their heart and in their soul what is right for them on their path.
Yeah. I
But
also,
I think this is empowerment too. I
Yeah.
mean, because when you are empowered, you don't need courage in the sense of having to rise above something. If you are really empowered and standing in that, in your power, you are able to speak clearly, able to do things clearly. And it doesn't take that sort of, I've got to find my courage and overcome something, which I think is what we've had to do. But if we think of, if I think we need to think about it in a different way. I guess that's why I'm saying that, is just that that empowerment piece, I think, is so important, that we need to find our center. And once we have found our center, we can speak clearly and we can speak our truth. And we aren't, sort of reacting to how everybody else is reacting to what we're saying, but
But
we're
I think
not there.
it goes to your natural, what would you call it, your natural way of being. And for me, it's to be peaceful and to create harmony and to create beauty, and then to have to suddenly stand up and say, okay, wait a minute, no, that's not working for me. It's not, doesn't come natural. So, I understand what you're
No,
saying. Yeah, it's
I think
about,
it doesn't come naturally to, especially to Western women. Like, we have been programmed in schools not to speak, or again, this is something I learned living in Egypt. Like, people just say whatever's on their mind, they just say it. Like, that's just
yeah,
what is expected. And I admire the women around me, because I cannot, my daughter, whatever's happening, she's, you know, and I think that, and so that's why I'm saying it in that way, that I think there is a natural state of being when we are empowered, that we just speak our truth. But I do think that especially our generation was, no, you speak when you're spoken to, you should not assert yourself, you should follow the party line, you should, all these kind of things, which was our indoctrination in schools. But I do think there is another way to be, which is just to express myself as a human being, to be able to say what is on my mind without the fear of being reprimanded or now being canceled. I mean, I think it's gotten worse than probably how it was for us. But um, and that is through the heart. That
yeah.
is finding your center and finding the way to love yourself and to know that what you have to say is important and it should be said, and not necessarily in opposition to anything, but just to radiate whatever your truth is. And again, this is not easy because we don't have practice in that way, and in putting ourselves forward and in communicating with others like that. But it's something that we can find. And I think that to me is where Sekhmet, I keep calling it like getting my Sekhmet on. I just sort of invoke her, like, okay, I need to say something, I need to do something, let me be Sekhmet, let me get. And I think that really helps, because you can just invoke that energy in a very centered way.
yeah.
Because otherwise, for me at least, it comes across like, because I'm not good at asserting myself, it comes across like I'm either yelling or I'm frantic or what. It doesn't come across like just, this is the way it is, which I
Yeah.
think is a point we can get to, but it isn't. No, it isn't natural. I agree with you. It's not an easy thing to do, but I think there are ways to get there, that it should be just our state of being, that
But
empowered state of being.
it's like let our hearts be the voice, when we're speaking from the heart,
Yes.
which I feel this portal really is about. It is a portal. Not only it's from the heart, but it's to the heart, to step into our voice through our heart. And that's not always easy either, because there could be wounding there and then people resist. I've found that with myself. And I really do feel that this time, with the sun in Leo, with this gateway, it's giving me the opportunity to go in and look at the heart inside of myself. Like you said, can I have my voice? Can I just speak out and be who I am and not be reprimanded? Not that I have trouble with that, being a Leo. It comes natural to me. But I get, the look like, oh, who does she think she is? It's like, I'm me. We should allow, it's important to be ourselves and have our voice in whatever way that is, not
Yeah.
to create trouble, but to speak from our heart. And sometimes it does come out in a fierce way. And I think that fierceness is what gets the job done, and I'm not saying to create trouble fierceness. I'm saying, like, step in that strength and that resilience and that power of Sekhmet, and really hold yourself in that space and honor yourself for being in that place, because we're not being supported in it. So
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where the courage comes in, because sometimes we're not supported and sometimes we know it, and we still have to be able to speak up and say, no, this is my truth, or this is what I feel.
yeah,
But in your heart. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, this is an exciting
But I
time.
was thinking, the Sekhmet for me is not, I'm not a Leo, so I'm not that into Sekhmet, but I would probably say Isis was closer to what I connect with. But then even Isis had her 13 scorpions that went before her to make sure that nobody got in her way, So even when you are the mother, that energy, you still have the um, ability to protect your path
Mm.
and to make sure that nothing harms you on your path. So
You used to talk about Tefnut too. You don't hear too many people talking about Tefnut. Is she like another Sekhmet version?
no, she was one of the, at the beginning in the Syrian Egyptian cosmology.
Ah,
She was when Amun, the creator, created the masculine and the feminine. Tefnut was the feminine, the lion-headed lady, and then Shu was the masculine, and he was the feather because he was
right.
wind, and whatever. So Tefnut features a lot in the hieroglyphics, as this original mother figure. So I should imagine that Sekhmet would be sort of descended from her, but maybe Leslie knows more about that.
Well, Sekhmet is part of the serpent goddess. So Hathor, Sekhmet make up the two. And this is also another way to look at it. Hathor and Sekhmet was birthed out of Hathor's anger, or her need for rage. So she really represents the dark sister, which we have that aspect of the serpent goddess, which is the caduceus. So I think that this is yet another opportunity and another encouragement for us to reintegrate those two aspects of the serpent goddess, to reconnect to the dark sister, because the dark sister is where our power is. And as you were saying, finding your courage and that's our dark sister. She has that power. She knows how to do that. And again, in Western culture, those two serpents have been separated. There's the light and the dark. There's Eve and Lilith, and and we don't want to look at the dark, but we have to, because we know from young that that's where our power is. It's in the shadow. So that's what Sekhmet represents. When Ra wasn't happy with human, and that's the other celebration that comes during it on the 7th of August, during this portal is that story, that mythology about the inebriation of Hathor, which actually was in her Sekhmet form, because she was going to destroy the earth. So then, of course, you need the good side to balance the dark side, but the essence is we need to bring those two things together. So, yeah, that was the birth of Sekhmet, was when Ra wanted to uh, bring down his rage on humanity, and he was going to destroy humanity. So that again is that energy, maybe of, too much rage, too too much assertiveness, but then you find a balance and you come back, and that's the mythology that goes with that celebration. So that's also celebrated, like, the time we almost lost humanity, but we didn't. Sekhmet, got
Yes,
drunk on beer, and
that
everything calmed down. Yes.
the nuclear explosion in Hiroshima was on the 6th of August, which is today, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Which
wow.
is firepower and rage. And, this is what we don't want. This is too much. It's the shadow side.
Yeah.
So I always get a bit nervous around about this time of the year when people start making comments about sending nuclear submarines and whatever, because, we don't
Yeah.
want that happening again. And I think it happens in August because of the Lion's Gate and because of this energy of Leo and Sekhmet, because it's available for a
Yeah.
huge explosion. So one of our works, is to stay in the heart and to stay in peace and to stay and keep that center
Hmm.
so that humanity is not destroyed again, or there's a threat of that being
Well,
destroyed again.
and we just had that huge earthquake, which many people believe was man-made. So I think that this power that we are feeling because of the Lion's Gate, we are
Mm-hmm.
harnessing that power, hopefully in a positive way for our own empowerment, and then, rippling out to humanity. But that there are going to be dark forces. They're going to harness that energy in ways that are not for the benefit of humanity.
They're
So it's
trying to,
just something.
yeah. No, they're trying to gain,
Yeah. So
power.
that's why it's so important that we are empowered and
Yeah.
we are empowered so that we can hold that energy for the earth and hold the earth on track, because the earth is also moving through the Lion's Gate.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
just us, it's a whole planetary, movement taking place. And I think maybe it's a nice thing to now say something about what can one do during this time to stay in their center, and what are some of the things we can engage in that keep us grounded and centered in our heart no matter what's going on around us, because chaos is going to come in and out, and it's up to us to learn how to navigate it. And maybe each of us can share some of the things that we like to do or recommend.
Well,
Who
we
wants to?
did a dance activation on the 26th. We did a dance activation with Sekhmet, and that's still available through my school. That's available until the 12th. But what the point was, to do ceremony, to talk about the Lion's Gate. And I believe, and we did a posture of Sekhmet. So to actually be able to invoke that energy. And for me, whenever I do ceremony and ritual, it always involves dance. But I do feel that dance, that movement, moving those energies through yourself, and again, to understand the power of Sekhmet, this would be a very good time to work with Sekhmet, with that goddess, um, to work with that more assertive, the serpent goddess, Hathor Sekhmet in particular, is the attractive, assertive goddess. So the assertive side is Sekhmet. So how can you do that? How can you invoke that energy again without destroying humanity, but to be empowered? And I do think that movement, doing dance or something like that, is a very good way to move those energies through yourself. But definitely during this period of time, I would encourage people to look into Sekhmet, to do practices that are ways to integrate that dark side of the feminine, because I think this is a perfect opportunity to use those energies.
Yeah, thank you for that, Leslie. And I know, Celia, you have your webinar yearly that, well, you do all of the sacred calendar points.
Yeah, I do a ceremony on the Friday, 8-8, where I have four groups, English, Russian, German, and Spanish, and we do it like a wave, one after the other, so that the wave goes around the earth. But I just like to say that because we're moving into this new time spiral, the golden age, I work with Yeshua and Mary Magdalene because they are the avatars of this new age, and I follow the path of Mary Magdalene. So for me, it's very much focusing on peace and beauty and harmony as much as I can to hold those energies within myself. But I also work with creativity. As Leslie was saying, she does dance. I do painting, and I paint, and I try to hold these energies in the work that I do, because I find that being creative comes from this higher part of ourselves. One of the things I was looking at is as our body goes through its evolution, it goes back to the cave painters, where they used the paintings as part of ceremonies and rituals within the earth. And so as we come to this part of our evolution, we feel within ourselves, within our DNA, we're going back into those times when we could create rituals and ceremonies and use art and creativity and dance and music and whatever, to connect with the earth and connect with the galactic energies, which is important now, because in this stage of our evolution, it is about being embodied, being in a physical body, being grounded, but also reaching right up to the galaxy and right up to the heart of source, because that is what we are becoming: embodied galactic travelers in physical bodies, but still able to access all these other levels of being and becoming, which is a wonderful thing to be able to do, but so important to hold your center in your heart, because otherwise you just fall over, or you get crazy, or you become angry because, as Leslie says, the shadow side is not being contained or being guided. So it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, it is. Thank you both for sharing that, because I've been taking classes with both of you over the years and learned so much. And for me, all of those things for definite. I also find that it's very beneficial to be out in nature as much as you
Yeah.
can, to go to water, go to the mountains, wherever you have nature near you. And if you can't, like I have a friend, she's like, I can't get to the beach. I'm always working. I live in the city. I said, take a salt bath and light a candle and put Sekhmet on,
Yeah,
like you're on your
absolutely.
altar, you know? Like,
Essential oil, something beautiful. Yes.
yeah, something like you said, to beautify, put some flowers out, gather with friends and family, make it fun. Even I know sometimes with these energies, because our DNA is going through such a major recalibration, as you said, Celia, that we really are turning into this crystalline energy while we're still in a physical human form. But you can do things to ease some of the intensity by engaging in the heart, by engaging in creativity, by going to nature, anything that you feel that brings you, yeah, brings you
Your
joy.
body, because the body's taking a lot of stress at the moment.
It
So if
is.
you feel tired, rest. If you feel hungry, eat. Just let your body guide you into what it needs in order to cope with these energies.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of lemon water lately. I've been, because the anger with the liver, it's like, okay, Sekhmet's anger. Let me put some lemon in there and calm it down.
Dandelion as well, dandelion. Yeah, so I drink literally about 5 liters a day. I just go through so much water. And if you had to ask me what is my favorite food, I would say water, because my body just seems to crave it at the moment as part of this cleansing, creating water plasma, the crystalline, all of that.
Yeah, because even with all that fire, like you said, sometimes the fire gets out of control. We need a little water to soften it,
A
you know,
lot of water.
really to come in and sort of like, make it more steamy rather than this raging blaze that.
Turbulent.
So yeah, exactly. So I think that for me too, drinking it, bathing in it, trying to get over to a beach or a bay or something, where water kind of balances and softens out that blazing fire energy. Because yeah, fire can be very cleansing too, because it burns away the old. But if you
Yeah.
have too much, then having some of the water come in. So in a way, all the elements are playing a role in this, because that's another thing. Working with the elements in a balanced way is also really good. And I know when you do ceremony, Celia, you have us, we're working with all the elements, to have a candle, have a crystal, have incense, and all these things are good. Have a drum. I think any kind of ritual that you engage with in whatever way that is for you. There's no wrong way, but I think it can be very helpful during this time as we move through these energies. As I'm usually at the point when I get to the end, getting right toward the end of Leo, and we're about to come into Virgo. I'm like ready. I'm like, please, Virgo, come in, because
It's time.
that's like,
But
you're excited when Leo comes in, like, finally, we're at the Cancer and the moodiness. And I'm thinking, all right, I had enough of this. Virgo,
fire, yeah, gets hot.
thank you.
But Leo is about creativity. I mean, the sign of Leo is about creativity, and I think that that's the point. Like that's how to use the fire, is let it out in some creative way. As Celia said, with her it's drawing, with me it's dancing, but it doesn't matter. It could singing, anything, but I think that let's use that energy of Leo and create. And the self, to me, that is our role as human beings. We came here to create. And what are you going to create? That is different for every person, but that's what we're here to do, is to create. And I do think, again, that is kind of this is a perfect time to do that, because we are in the sign of Leo.
Yeah. And you both have webinars going on now, and even though they started, you can still get the replays if you decide to sign up. Celia, you want to talk? Are you doing anything else besides your webinar? I know sometimes.
At the moment, I'm just doing the Lion's Gate, but it's a 5-part. So the first 2 I've done, and then on Friday we do the ceremony, and then we do the 2-part integration, where we integrate the energies and look at ways we can work with them. So that's ongoing. And then at the end of the month, I'm doing, I run a series called In the Presence of. The last one was Archangel Michael. This next one will be Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. So it's basically channeling the energies and allowing people to feel that energy in the space that we create together. So I think that will be good too. So thank you.
So what is your website again? It's Star Child.
CeliaFenn.com.
Okay, CeliaFenn.com. I'll put it I'm going to probably put this on Vimeo and in YouTube. I'll put everything in there. And Leslie, what's your website?
Well, universaldancer.com is my main website, and then the school is universaldancer.thinkific.com.
Okay.
And there's the ceremony, the dance activation with Sekhmet, that's there. And also, because of the Lion's Gate, one of my many goals is to encourage everyone to add movement to their spiritual practice. So I have a course called Dance as a Spiritual Practice, and at the moment during the Lionsgate, I'm doing a promotion, which I think you'll also you have the link for that, Maryanne.
Yeah.
And there's a discount code, and you can get 40% off of the course until the 12th of August. Because I really do, and I think summer's a good time to do this. It's an evergreen course. You don't have to do it right away. You can take as long as you like. But I do think this is that spark of inspiration that we need to get us rolling. And again, as I said, it's about really just about adding movement to your spiritual practice. So both of those things are going on during the Lionsgate.
Wonderful. Yeah, I have a local event that I'm doing here in Livingston, New Jersey. For those of you who are local, I'll be having a gathering on Friday for the 8/8, and there will be sound healing. There'll be some, informational parts. We'll do guided meditation activation. So for those of you in the local area, you're welcome to come and join us. It's going to be an exciting time. And we're in a beautiful wellness center that my partner Jeffrey Lewis runs. And we have something called the EE system. It's energy enhancement system. So it's photonic scalar wave technology that helps balance and restore our mitochondria. At the same time that will be focused on the Lion's Gate, we have that energy there too. So for those of you, I'm at starseedmission.org. So I will put everything in the bottom where people can contact us. If there's anything else either of you would like to add, please, feel free. I feel like we shared a lot of really.
Yeah, I would just say to everyone, just have a wonderful, wonderful Lion's Gate and just open your heart, be in the energy, and just feel that huge shift that we are making as individuals and as a planet, and in a positive way. It may look like it's all falling apart out there, but actually we are emerging into something very wonderful and very miraculous.
Thank
The
you.
darkest before the dawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would just second that by using the energies of this period of time to, just tap into them. If you don't want to do anything, lay there and just try to tune into them. I think there's infinite ways to use this energy and again feel inspired to use it in a way that seems right for you. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care. Lots of self-care. If you are feeling the energies very intensely and you don't want to be too creative and dance or paint or whatever, then just take care of yourself.
I do that a lot. I have people saying, okay, I can't do anymore. Crash on the bed and just be. And then, because your body also needs time out.
Yeah, it
It's
needs time to integrate the energies because they're so intense. I agree with that because we're processing. We're letting
yeah.
go of so much at the same time we're filling up with these frequencies that are coming in, these solar.
And we're getting new meridians and new
Yes,
neural
new
pathways and all sorts.
pathways.
So the body is busy, 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 as well as the consciousness. So there's got to be some kind of balancing where the body gets a break as well.
Absolutely. Yes. That's really a good point for sure. Well, I want to thank you both. This has really been very refreshing. I feel like, it was my instinct had said let's do this, and I'm glad that we did. I want to thank you both for sharing, your wisdom, your knowledge, your experiences of it. And hopefully we're heading we are we are heading into a new world of new frequency, new beginnings, and it's exciting. And I feel that goodness is here. We just have to step into it, and we are.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maryanne.
Thank you so
Yes,
much,
thank you.
both of you. Much love
Thank
to
you.
everyone.